Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Baxi.
And today Steve and I are going to talk about the epic, as Steve has been calling it all day since we first saw it, the epic Batman vs. Superman second trailer that was released in conjunction with San Diego Comic-Con. Luckily, we all got to see it, and it just came out a couple hours ago. So we're going to go ahead and chat about it a little bit for you and tell you what our first response is to it. Obviously, keep in mind that we just saw it a little while ago, and that we haven't had a whole lot of time to process it, so you're going to see us kind of noodling about it and figuring out our thoughts and getting that together as we're talking here on video. So anyway, let's begin with the obvious elephant in the room, Steve, which is you were really down on the teaser, and I wasn't real sure where that was coming from, and your whole tirade was, I know about all this already. I don't care yet. You know, you were waiting to care. Now you care. Why is that?
I think this is finally DC giving us everything we want. The other trailer had this problem of clearly they're just trying to ape Nolan. This is all about Nolan. This feels way too much like Nolan. And then you get this trailer and it's not that at all. No. This is something I would almost expect from like a Joss Whedon trailer. It's completely goofy in comic book. You've got Batman wearing the Liberty Files costume with the goggles and hanging out in the desert.
What?
It's so goofy. You've got the Robin costume and it's got no pants.
Yeah.
It's a Robin costume with no pants.
Oh,
we got that on film.
I couldn't believe that. Yeah, but all in the trappings of like this really dark, scary kind of world, and that's really exciting. I mean, I feel like we're in a place, maybe, and of course we'll see because we haven't seen the film yet, but it looks like, at least the way they're trying to advertise it, that it's going to be that same that same kind of like self-serious, self-important kind of thing that I have complained about with Man of Steel and Dark Knight Rises before, but that maybe we've got a balance now where it's that way in a classic comic book melodrama kind of way, where you can where like the characters are acting that way, but we're still having a really good time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not skipping on the ideas. You got all these insane action scenes, but all the dialogue's important. All the dialogue is really good.
Yeah.
You've got all the same ideas you had in the first trailer, but they're actually working with the images here, and you're actually getting a sense of what kind of scale this movie's going to be on. I would argue that it seems like the plot's going to be a little bit predictable, but I'm okay with that just because I think it's necessary and it's going in an interesting direction. I particularly love the line where Perry White says Clark Kent, no one cares about Clark Kent versus Batman.
That's so cool.
Just the idea that Clark would go and write a paper about Batman before he decides to fight him is great.
Well, and also we've got Bruce Wayne versus Superman.
Yeah,
at the same time.
It's incredible.
Isn't that neat? So I love that we already know now. There is a part of me, of course, that 8 months out, I can't believe we know this much about this movie, and I always resist telling us this much this early, because it being this far out, I am a little bit afraid that we're going to see way too much from this movie, kind of like we did Amazing Spider-Man 2 by the time we finally see it. But forgetting that, I just want to react to what we've seen and what I'm excited about, and why I'm suddenly so much more positive about this project. We'll talk about the approach that Warner's is taking, past this. But what I think is really cool is that it's not just arbitrarily Batman is afraid that Superman has too much power, so he goes after him. It's personal, and I'm so happy that they're going that way. That Superman did something to him personally, and it's affected not just Batman, but Bruce Wayne and his company, and that's the reason that he's considering going off and trying to take him down.
Yeah, and you got that line where he says he spent 20 years in Gotham. This is a Batman that's pretty old. He's been there. He's pushed himself to a really, really high standard, a really high point. People even talk about how Batman's a mysterious, violent, terrifying figure. And then Superman just shows up, saves the day, and then wrecks everything. And then immediately, Batman, just based on what he's been doing for the past 20 years, is going to have a psychological reaction to that no matter what. And then adding to the fact that he killed Wayne Tower employees, that's great. That's exactly what you would need to get those two men argue. You're
right, he would react anyway, but I like that there's that extra personal element. Bruce Wayne, so Batman is all about control, and he is the, mortal man that feels like he has to become more than that because, of course, and obviously they give you already a glimpse of the death of his parents, because we have to have that in everything.
With Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne, that's awesome.
That is cool. And he, and so, you see the death of his parents in his trailer. That's the moment where he sees that he doesn't have control of the world, and he just spends the rest of his life trying to control things to make sure that that bad things don't happen. And then suddenly, this person that claims to be all about helping people and trying to make the world a better place has taken all that control away from him. And I love that's what it's going to be about. That's maybe the obvious thing that's taking these characters down to brass tacks, but it demonstrates that these people, the writers Terrio and Snyder directing it, that they get those characters. And I wasn't sure that they did. So they at least get that, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then Lex Luthor has that great line at the end where he says the red capes are coming. And I'm still not sure about Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, but I love that line, and then the fact that you brought in everything about Batman needing control. Yeah. But now he's going to be in an avalanche of superheroes. Now this is the start of a DC cinematic universe. He's not going to have control over anything for a little while now, and we're starting that here. I think that's great.
Yeah, and that makes the idea of an older Batman a lot more interesting, right? Where I love that they're actually capitalizing on that. There's a reason to do an older Batman. Now again, moving forward, I just don't know how much legs this is going to have. I don't know how long you can use Ben Affleck because you decided to go so late, but it is a risk. And the big thing I was complaining about before we started seeing very much about this movie was that Warner's isn't taking any risks and that they're putting all their eggs in one basket. Yeah, but it looks like quite the basket.
It seems like they've got their own sense of who Batman is now. It's its own version of the character, and we've got the announcement that Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns are going to co-write a Batman movie together. Mm-hmm. And both those are great writers, particularly for Batman. So Jeff Johns is going to get to reinvent that character again in the movie universe.
But it's funny you say that, because before the second volume of Earth 1, I thought you didn't like Jeff Johns writing Batman.
I didn't, but the second volume was fantastic. The problem with Earth 1 wasn't necessarily Jeff Johns' take on Batman as much as just the structure of the plot.
Yeah, sure. Well, do you think... See, one thing I've been wondering, and I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit because you brought that up, and I wanted to address it real quick before I forgot about it. Do you think that any of Earth 1 might make it into that?
I think most of it probably.
Really?
I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see just how much, because they already got a couple of characters from like Killer Croc, for example, that are going to be in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, true.
So there's some things they won't be able to use, and that universe isn't particularly well defined yet.
Yeah.
But I imagine the Alfred Batman relationship is going to be perfect. Going to be put on screen exactly. Because that seems to be the best way to do it. Would be where the Batman just did the exact same thing, and that really worked well. So I imagine they'll do that, and I imagine they'll do the whole. Batman's really, really angry all the time thing, though, because they're doing Miller, so this is naturally just going to be an angrier Batman, even if he's not young.
Yeah, fair enough. But going back to what we were talking about, the idea of not only does Batman feel like he doesn't have the control that he's been trying to have because Superman shows up, but then suddenly all these other superheroes. So now there's kind of a reason to populate this movie with more characters. Now, it still could be too many. It still could be really hard to juggle. But it's possible that now with that idea that just introducing them, the movie won't feel like it has to try to give everybody too much of a story. Like, it might know how to just introduce certain characters, because we know that very soon we're going to get Justice League and very soon we're going to get Wonder Woman, and have logical reasons to have those characters pop in and serve this story, but not have to pretend like it's everybody's story. And I'm hoping that's what it is, but that's certainly what it looks like.
Yeah, it seems almost like there's a much bigger, much wider story going on. And Zack Snyder and Chris Terrio have said the Justice League script's already done. So it
Good.
seems like what the idea might be is all these characters are doing things in this world that we'll see eventually, and we're just zooming in on one very particular battle that's happening right now, and it just so happens to be Batman and Superman. It feels like they actually had a story in mind, and it's not just we need a top Avengers gimmick. Like, there's actually a creative process behind making these two characters come together so soon.
Well, what I always say is, do your creative storytelling and your good business simultaneously. These two things can go hand in hand. Yes, to a degree, you're gonna have to combat Marvel and Avengers a little bit, and obviously they want a sliver of that pie. But don't make it obvious to the point of, we don't really believe in these characters, we just got to get something out so that we can get, and that's what I was afraid was happening, that we've just got to get something out so that we can get as much of that, as much revenue from that whole phenomenon before it goes away. And now it seems like just having seen this trailer, the way that they seem to be embracing the comic book stuff, Steve. It really feels like it's maybe better business than I thought it was, at least for this movie.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing they announced right before this is Green Lantern Corps. So clearly, at this point, they're not going to shy away from doing a lot of weird stuff. Because if you're doing a Green Lantern Corps movie,
exciting.
Half your cast is going to be CGI aliens. We're not going to be worried about the self-seriousness anymore. That they're finally going to stop trying to make one movie about this one big grand concept and spend the whole movie trying to analyze it when you don't need to. And we're just going to do stories with these characters because they've got a natural dynamic, they've got a natural conflict, and there's a story there. Batman versus Superman is not a thing I always like. It's not something I even really want.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Given this universe, given what we've seen so far, and given the writing with Chris Terrio, it's understandable that these two guys would come to blow. It's understandable. You're cashing in on all the comic book glory of Superman and Batman beating each other up, but you're doing it for character reasons, and that's good.
Yeah, well, and I think that again, the business versus the creative side. I think you're doing it. I think the initial reason you're doing it is because you know it'll make money, and then in order to make it effective as an experience, you have to find a way to make it character-driven, and I think that's the distinction. I think it is totally fine to start from that, okay, what do fans want to see place, and then just be smart about it. Yeah. And have it come from a character place, and it looks like it actually might be now, and that's super exciting. Steve, I don't understand some of the interviews that we've had lately from certain people involved in this project, because a lot of what I saw in this trailer was completely contrary to things that people have been saying and that have been kind of I found potentially troubling, right? And again, I always try to reserve judgment, so we make these videos and I have to have opinions about things, because what's the point of making a video if you're just like, well, I watched this trailer and this Lex Luthor was in it and there was some kryptonite at the end. So obviously I give you what my initial take is on it, but I always say, who knows moving forward. I haven't seen the movie yet. I don't want to review the thing before I see it. And sometimes I think people get the idea that we've got these, Steve, preconceived notions. We're going to go in. We want this movie to fail, so we're going to go in. We're going to hate it no matter what. No, I want this to be great. And now it looks like it might be. And so that's really exciting. But man, Snyder just needs to stop talking to reporters. Cavill had in the interview last week. And I say that because Snyder keeps talking about realism and consequences and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? He's saying that, but then what I'm seeing here is not realism, and you don't. For this material, that's not what you necessarily want, And so it looks like he's making, from this trailer anyway, looks like he's making a movie that is contrary to what he said, and it's the thing I was hoping he was making. So weird. Cavill last week, I think it was, had an interview where he said that this is not a sequel to Man of Steel. But then they are advertising it like a direct sequel to Man of Steel, which is exactly what we see in this trailer is exactly kind of what I was hoping for, as far as actually dealing with the collateral damage stuff that everybody complained about in Man of Steel that I didn't pick up on originally because I liked the ideas so much, and then the more I saw it, I realized that kind of was an issue, and they're gonna directly respond to that. Dead Zod corpse.
Yeah.
And it's not, and then like we showed not just some token screen stuff, but what seemed like important pivotal scenes from both Martha Kent and Perry White. All I can think of is Lawrence Perry Fishburne. And you're saying it's not a sequel to Man of Steel, and then, like he sounded almost apologetic, like, yeah, it's not about Superman. It's more about bringing Batman in. It looks like it's very much about Superman. I mean, I guess we'll see, but that's sure how they're selling it. I'm sorry, I've been talking a lot.
No, I totally get what you're saying. We had a conversation with this on Facebook too. Like, so you've got a movie that has to do with the direct consequences of something else, and it only exists because of the previous source material, and has the central character from the previous source material as a central character here.
Yeah,
that's a sequel. That's the definition of a sequel. Why don't you just call it a sequel?
I don't know, and why are we talking about it like we're like, I just think that and again, I haven't seen the movie, so it might feel less like that when I finally see it, and we might spend more time with Batman than we do with Superman, but I don't know why if that's the case, Steve, why Henry Cavill isn't like oh, you're not getting your standalone Superman sequel, but don't worry, I'm important. Like, why isn't he saying that? I don't understand, because that's what it looks like. So I don't know. I'm I'm done paying attention to interviews. I don't know what people are saying or why they're saying it. Sometimes it seems like people say things, of course, just in trying to sell a movie, and you can't really trust it until you see the movie. But they've been saying things with this movie that are, for me, shooting themselves in the foot. That I see this trailer and I'm like, I don't know what you people are talking about. Your movie looks great. Yeah. And there's things that you've been saying that you think are satiating someone that needs to be told that it's realistic and darker and all of that kinds of stuff. I'm not seeing it in your movie. I'm not seeing it in what you're showing me of your movie so far. Now, clearly a dark movie, right? Clearly a brooding movie. We've got a Batman that is branding people.
It's kind of strange. I've never seen Batman actually do that, and it constantly raises the question of, at what point is brutalizing a person worse than killing them? Because that's going to scar them for life, right?
Fate worse than death,
if I got branded by a bat symbol by a big muscular guy that looks like Ben Affleck, I'd be scarred for life. That's all I'm saying.
I am not criticizing it. You know what I love about it? I think, this is just prediction, we'll see what happens with the movie, my prediction is that Batman is going after Superman because he thinks, of course, that he's too powerful and that he is a giant risk to the world because of what happened in Metropolis, and he has perfect reasons to think that. And then at the end, he's gonna realize how much of a hypocrite he is, because he is exactly the same thing. And that and that they will both by the end temper each other. The movie is called Dawn of Justice. Never really cared for that originally, just because I think it's too wordy. But what if the idea is, yeah, we're setting up Justice League, but also these characters right now, neither of them are about justice, and at the end of the movie they will be, and that's the character arc.
Yeah, because we said this before. This is about vengeance for Batman at the very beginning, and if it comes to the point where Superman is the one to teach Batman that justice doesn't come out of the darkness necessarily, that's exactly where you should take those two characters. That's exactly what they are. I love the idea of Batman being old, crazy Frank Miller Batman to start, and then Superman turns him into classic, calmer Batman. I think that could potentially happen. I
think it's maybe a lesson they both have to learn simultaneously, because we've got a Superman who did have this giant brawl with Zod in the middle of a bunch of buildings, and he wasn't really all that careful about people. And remember that the first giant strike he goes against Zod is when if memory serves, he's threatening his mom. So I mean, like, he comes from a little bit of a vengeance place too, if you think about it. It's not, you killed my parents, but who all is he putting in danger by reacting instead of thinking?
Yeah, no, you're right. And we have that line from Martha, and I'm slowly coming around on the idea that Superman is raised by a very unsure and very frightened Kent family. I think that could potentially work. The fact that she says that you don't owe these people anything, but you could be this. Yeah. I know it makes some people nervous because they think Superman has to be a lot more pure than that.
Yeah.
But given the kind of world we live in, kind of the weird skepticism that Man of Steel brought in, how dark it was, and how unsure and how weird the message of hope really was. If you start from a place like that, and you make Superman realize that it's not just about I have a responsibility to these people, it's about the fact that I have these powers, and if I don't take responsibility, who else will? I think you could very easily do like an Earth 1 character arc for him there.
Yeah, that's great, Steve. I mean, I've always had my reservations about the way Jonathan Kent was handled in that movie, and there's this weird fate thing that I just don't understand. I don't know what he was waiting for. I don't know what he thought with, someday you can use your powers, but not today. What are we waiting for exactly? It's almost like you read the script and you knew that aliens were coming or something. So that was always kind of weird. The idea that in the modern that in our modern day, in our somewhat more more cynical world, you wouldn't have the traditional Kent family. I don't think it's fair to say that those people don't exist. I think it is a stereotype to assume that just because they live in Kansas and they're farmers that they're that way, because I live in Kansas and I don't know anybody like that. I'm kidding. I don't know a lot of people like that. I know lots of really good, nice people, Steve. They're just not all quite as salt of the earth as those people. Anyway, but yeah, I like that line. At least at first glance, you don't owe these people anything, because he has in her mind he has a right to be here.
Yeah.
He was he's an immigrant. But he was, he doesn't remember a time when he wasn't on Earth. It's not his fault he's here. He has every right to be here as anybody else. He is to her just as human as everybody. And so, for her to kind of, give him that choice, I think that's really interesting. I think some people are likely to consider that, again, too cynical, and it's Superman not standing for what he's supposed to be standing for. But the trailer opens with what do you stand for, and I really think the whole movie is going to be Superman searching for that and trying to figure it out. He doesn't have it yet, and so all the people that hated Man of Steel because Superman didn't stand for truth, justice, and the American way, we've got a universe where he doesn't yet, and I can completely understand why people wouldn't want that, but I want to give it a chance, and because I've read some Superman stories now that have Superman not starting from that place, and he gets there, and I've seen it done very believably, and JMS did an amazing job with that. And so, when you said Earth 1, yeah, I think that there's and there is some nods to Earth 1, surprisingly, even in Man of Steel. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And even in that opening, you see lots of signs that say not only what do you stand for, but that he is an immigrant. And people have a problem with the fact that he is from another place and he's encroaching on their land. And there's that great line from the Justice League episode we just talked about on Crisis, what was it called? Hereafter, where John Jones says that Superman, first and foremost, is an immigrant from the stars. And then he proceeds to say that he taught us how to be heroes. That the fact that he comes from somewhere else and that he's different is the most crucial part of his character. So if we started from that place and we don't know what he stands for and he's different, and then we consolidate both those things by having him confront Batman, I think that's a lot of signs of really good writing. One of my problems with the teaser is it was just weird images. I didn't know how to read them. There's so many scenes in this trailer where I could write entire speculative essays with lots of evidence to support where this film is going. We have the stuff with Superman in the opening. We have the stuff where Bruce Wayne's in Metropolis, and it's Batman in his civilian clothes running into the fight with two gods destroying the city. That's a completely Batman thing to do. The fact that they're going that far, the stuff Lex Luthor says, that small speech he has, all of that stuff is great. All that stuff is informing and building and elaborating on ideas that just didn't work with Man of Steel.
And we don't have a lot of evidence of this yet, but I just kind of get the vibe that we might have just a lot more personality to these characters this time around. It's a thing that people have been really worried about. People called the first one humorless. Again, it wasn't the experience I had with it the first time around because I was so enamored and suckered in by the ideas. But the more times I've seen it, the more I completely understand where that criticism comes from. And I'm not expecting a really, jokey, laugh out loud kind of movie, but I think that they might be, again, finding the balance where there will be some levity, and it might be kind of, some dry levity. But, man, we're just straight up doing crazy comic book stuff. That is levity already, right? I don't know.
It's Superman ripping the doors off the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Like, how much more comic book can you get?
We have never seen, and also most straight up comic book, especially modern, like 90s to 2000s Batman. Most comic booky looking Batman action that I've ever seen. Not knocking the Nolan movies. I love the way he did action in those movies. It's a different kind of thing because it's more of a drama before it's a comic book, like more of like a crime drama before it's a comic book crime drama.
Yeah.
This, we've got like Arkham game level repelling.
Yes. Yeah.
What comic book fan is not losing his mind at seeing that? Like, he moves.
Like, he's pulling his cape out like a giant bat and smashing through a window.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh my god.
Perfect batarangs on screen.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's hard to watch this and not smile, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I've been
infectious.
wanting to do. Yeah, I'm already hearing some people. I got my Facebook lit up when this came out, and everybody was like, "Captain Logan, please make a trailer. Make a trailer. We're gonna make a trailer for our video about the. We should do that one of these days as a joke. You know what I mean? Do like a teaser trailer of a discussion that's just us saying like it's just like black flashes, and then like us saying something completely out of context for like 3 seconds that you have no idea what it was like, and then stuff happened. But anyway, I'm hearing some people complaining that we're bringing Kryptonite into this universe. I think that thematically it immediately makes sense to do that. One of the big things that Snyder was kind of bragging about with the first movie was we're gonna do a Superman movie without Kryptonite. We're not gonna resort to Kryptonite. He had every reason to say that because we had just resorted to Kryptonite so much in Superman movies. With this, obviously, you don't want to resort to it, but I don't know how you have. What do you think about this, Steve? I don't know how you have a universe where people don't immediately take Superman at face value and believe in him, and are afraid he's too powerful, and not have a thing that can stop him, because I feel like that's the big thing that would kind of help satiate that a little bit, where, well, at least we know there's a thing, we'll give the army some of this stuff, and then if you ever get mind controlled or something, we have a plan now.
Yeah, and it looks like he might get mind controlled in this movie, because he's like kneeling before Lex. It's weird. That might actually happen. The Kryptonite might actually work in the story for that.
Oh, you diseased maniac!
Yeah, so Kryptonite, I think at this point would be important. It's completely natural to bring it in here. It's going to be interesting to see what the origin of Kryptonite is, because I don't know how it would be radioactive elements of Krypton, considering Superman's ship left before Krypton was there, and you had to go through like a interdimensional portal through space to get to Earth. And out of the Kryptonite,
you'd have to find it some other.
There.
Maybe Zod had some.
Maybe, or it might even just be like the wreckage from all of Zod's equipment radiated or something. I don't know.
It's a big rock.
Yeah,
and like, where do you get that big of a Kryptonite rock in there? I mean, I would figure that this would be that universe where you had like one sliver and that's all you had, but it was a pretty big rock. I mean, where does that come from? Yeah.
And I also love that we're actually dealing with Superman just left Zod's body there. Something's going to happen with that. Maybe Kryptonite ties into that too. There's been lots of rumors and leaks and stuff saying that Kryptonite and Zod's body have a lot to do with what the plot of the movie is going to be, and I'm glad. I'm glad that they're not just going to artificially throw in comic book things. They're going to give it a natural reason to be there.
Can I make a crazy suggestion? This is a really outlandish, I don't even want to say prediction, because I don't think this is what they're doing, but you know how there were rumors there for a while that Doomsday was going to be in this movie?
Yeah.
Are those still going around, or has that been completely debunked?
No one's debunked it yet.
Okay.
But the rumors have died down, but no one's debunked it, so it's hard to say.
Okay. What if some kind of correlation between Kryptonian blood and a rock?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then Superman becomes directly responsible for the creation of Doomsday.
Oh, that'd be
and
awesome.
then, if we ever do Death of Superman, the consequences of his irresponsibility lead to his own demise while he's trying to clean up his own mess.
It also we mutated Zod's body and turned him into Doomsday?
Yeah.
So Superman kills Zod, then Zod kills Superman.
I don't know, man. I mean, that could be really cool. Is it fun that suddenly we're excited and there's all this, like, fun speculation you can make? And I mean, like, oh boy, how spoiled are we as big superhero and comic fans? I mean, next year we get... Is Civil War next year?
Yeah, it's May next year, May 6th, 2016.
Oh my god, man. I mean, like, it is heaven. I know I've said this before, but, like, I've said before that if my, like, 10-year-old self could come to present day and see all this stuff, he'd be shocked. Now he'd have a friggin' heart attack. I mean, like... Oh boy, and there's a lot of people saying that they're starting to experience kind of superhero burnout, and when you get stuff like this, with just what it looks like right now, this is second win material. This is like people that are burnout on superheroes already and are kind of sick of it and like have experienced the Marvel method, and they're like, okay, you're telling decent character-driven stories, but the third act is always kind of the same. You know, you hear that a lot. You go to this thing and now it's DC completely embracing crazy, nutso comic book stuff that you know, the likes of which Marvel we haven't seen from them yet. Okay, they've got a talking raccoon. They've got that.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, this looks like the DC brand of it.
Yeah, it looks different. It's visually got a different style to it. It's not using the same shooting techniques Marvel movies do.
And it's not the kind of
what helps it.
And it's not that kind of dreary color palette that we had with Man of Steel. And that's so ironic bringing Batman in. Now we don't have a dreary color palette. I was excited by how much color we were seeing. And I mean, you know, there's a lot of like broody atmospheric stuff. You got all the rain, you know, dark, and but it looks like but it's stylized. It looks like it's on purpose.
Yeah.
And, you know, I originally took up for the color palette in Man of Steel, saying, well, it's stylistic. It's that way on purpose because you need Superman to bring in hope so that we can get out of a world that is representative of the cynicism of that world. But the problem is, when you get to the end of it, well, it still kind of looks like that. And I don't know that Superman has brought the hope that the movie's talking about as much as it's talking about it yet. We've got to kind of see. And now you got Batman bringing in a totally different kind of darkness. So you still can't have a bright, happy, chipper-looking universe or nothing. Yeah.
No, you're right. It's the color palette is still a problem in Man of Steel, but I feel like at this point they just kind of embraced it. They, at least with this, it feels like the over darkness of every shot isn't hindering the way everything looks. Like, one of my biggest problems with Man of Steel is Henry Cavill is a great Superman. The way the movie is shot, he looks terrible. Like the way the costume is, like you see his chest coming out, and you see him in certain shots, he looks too smug. Like, the actor is great for the role, you're just not shooting him right. That's not the problem here at all. He's shot like he's Superman.
And you know what,
so you can make a darker color palette work as long as you get the angle.
Oh, the flying stuff looks just boss. Don't you think that I'm sorry. One thing is, I'm going to start my sentence over. One of the things I think is really funny is that if folks are likely to go to this movie and say, "Oh, good, they fixed the color scheme of the suit." Are you aware that what we're seeing here is just what the color of the suit always was?
Yeah.
And that they just toned it down a lot in color correction in the first one. They didn't make a really dark-looking suit. It's actually quite bright.
Yeah, you're right. The suit they made looked fantastic. It was just the way they desaturized everything.
Yeah, so they just took the exact same suit in this and didn't do that same kind of color correction, and so it looks like a kind of a different suit, but it's not.
And it also helps that Batman's suit is all black and gray.
Or is it there? Are there some differences in the suit? I don't even know.
I think it's a slightly different suit, but you can barely tell. Like, he had like side notches and stuff that come out over his stomach.
That's right. That's right. I knew somebody's gonna leave comments and be like, "No, it is a new suit." But it's like just some flourishes, right? Like, it's not a totally different redesign.
Yeah, it's like a refined design. It's not really a new suit per se.
Right. Yeah. We should talk about before we go. Obviously, more of the. Isn't it cool, by the way, that there's been all this talk that, oh, we're getting a Batman movie that just sort of has Superman in it in his own sequel, and we've been talking almost nothing but Superman stuff. I mean, that is...
Yeah, it's Superman's movie. I'm really excited about that. That's what we needed, you know?
Well, and I mean, like, let's not jump the gun. We're saying that based on a 3-minute trailer, and we haven't seen the whole thing, but the premise of it
Yeah, it looks like a Superman thing. Now, yeah, but of course, like, Man of Steel's second and third trailer looked incredible. It looked like exactly like the Superman movie we needed, and then it didn't turn into that. So, I mean, there's still every chance that this will happen, but as of right now, this looks amazing, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, this is not me changing my stripes and saying, okay, this movie I thought wasn't going to be any good, looks great based on one trailer. First of all, I always wanted to try to remain optimistic. I was just hearing things that kind of, from the people making it, that were kind of weird, and I didn't understand where they were coming from. So the optimism I was trying to have, I feel like, is if we get what we're seeing here, is more well founded, and that's kind of exciting. Let's talk about the Batman stuff. So you said that there was that there was something about Jason Todd, and I saw a Robin suit, but I don't know where you're getting Jason Todd from.
They've been circulating that there's already a dead Robin. There's actually a tombstone, a leaked screenshot of a tombstone that is a Robin.
Oh, cool.
Although it's circling around as to whether it's actually Dick Grayson or Jason Todd. I don't know why you'd kill Dick Grayson. That's really strange. But, I mean, it's a Robin that died and Joker's on it. It's probably Jason Todd. It'd be weird not to do that, considering how Dark Knight Returns this whole thing is. And that book is right after Death of the Family.
The Robin fans have got to be losing their minds.
Oh, yeah.
After this trailer, because I
like Robin almost more than Batman, so yeah, I'm losing my mind.
And see, I don't have that, but it is the. I mean, this is. I think that they're making a really good case for why you would do, besides the risk of your actors already older when you're starting a shared universe, but like they're making a pretty good argument for why you would do Batman later, because you don't have to get all this stuff started. And every time we've tried Spider-Man, we've had to start from the beginning and build up everything. And so here it's like, well, let's have a Batman that's already been around for a while. Everybody knows Batman's lore. Everyone's familiar with these characters. You show somebody a Robin suit, they're going to know what it is. So you say, we've had Robins. There's already this legacy thing. We make Batman a legacy thing in the first place. All bets are off. Anything is possible. They show you that suit for like a really brief couple seconds. Steve in the first place thought it was a statue. I had to pause it and look at it really close to tell that it was a suit. The design of it is really similar to the designs of some of the suits in Watchmen. I'm thinking of things like Night Owl and some of the even like the original Minutemen costumes. It's a similar kind of design, and I think that's fun because that makes it still a throwback to some of the Batman stuff from the 90s, because that's what all that stuff was. And you've got the Domino mask hanging over it, and then Joker has written something on it, and I didn't expect any mention of Joker in this. I doubt he actually appears in the film.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, because we know Batman's going to be in Suicide Squad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't think we've heard enough about Joker being in Batman vs. Superman. It's possible, though.
Well, see, a lot of my reservations about Suicide Squad go out the window as soon as you say Batman's in it, because my whole thing with that movie has just been, okay, so we have a bunch of bad guys going around doing stuff. What's their opposition? Yeah,
no, you're right. He is going to be in it. There was an entire thing about, like, they filmed an outdoor scene, and you even see Batman in the trailer for Suicide Squad. So clearly they're going off of that. There's a final shot of the Joker in the Suicide Squad trailer, and the big speculation right now is what we're seeing in Suicide Squad is Jared Leto Joker killing Jason Todd. And then Batman vs. Superman is Joker already being away in prison for that, and Batman dealing with everything in the aftermath. So it's exactly like Dark Knight Returns.
Okay, so wait, Suicide Squad then is going to be a movie that takes place before this?
During this, probably. It's going to have flashbacks in it with Joker. And Joker's going to be in the main movie, but there's also, like, flashback scenes with Joker in it. So it's probably going to be a movie that takes place at the same time as Batman vs. Superman, but we don't know yet.
Well, that would explain also partly why Batman would be in that movie, because if you have Joker flashbacks, I bet there's some Joker Batman flashbacks.
Yeah, probably so. It's gonna be hard to not use Joker at least a little bit with this, considering his handwriting's all over the place in this movie, literally.
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting that, but that's super cool. But yeah, just seeing the Robin suit, I was like, wow, we are just like really milking the Batman lore in this. We're just going full tilt. Steve, I'm in a place all of a sudden where I just feel like I said earlier, I could see anything happening. I think Nightfall is possible in this universe.
Oh boy, that'd be a dream come true. That's my favorite Batman event. I would really love for that to happen on screen. And get like an actual Bane on screen. That'd be great.
What you do, I think, is you'd make it some kind of a cross between and I mean, this obviously is Dark Knight. It has a lot of Dark Knight Returns in it, but you'd make it kind of Dark Knight Returns in the sense of he's getting older and he's thinking about leaving, right? Like obviously Returns as he comes back, but I'm just saying in the fact that in the idea that it's an older Batman, or maybe it would almost be like a weirdly reimagined Dark Knight Rises kind of. But I'm just saying like you have a Batman. You have a Bruce Wayne that's like maybe as he's getting older, he gets like really injured in a way that he wouldn't have when he's younger, and he's like, and that would make it even a little bit Batman Beyond-y potentially. And he's like, I'm gonna need somebody to come and help me out, and then you bring in Jean Paul Valley. I just think anything is possible right now. And if we're gonna do Doomsday and have any connection to Death of Superman, and given like, you know, the Death of Superman Lives documentary just came out, and I'm gonna watch that in the next couple weeks and try to review it. But like that came out, there's a lot of newfound interest in that story and in the fact that never happened, and I think that the next Superman thing after having Batman and Superman fight that people feel like really needs to happen someday is just too much of the big fan service thing is Death of Superman.
Yeah.
Then all the other major 90s stuff is really on the table.
Yeah, I mean, Nightfall's possible. You can get like a real No Man's Land going.
Yeah.
You could even do some. I mean, it'd be interesting if this is possible. But like, you do a solo Superman movie, and Batman still has a role in it because they're still kind of a team.
Yeah.
Maybe adapt some of the Superman Batman comics. Because those aren't great, but there's lots of good ideas there.
Sure.
Like Batman and Superman working together to take down Lex Luthor and stuff like that. Like,
yes, Steve.
Let's again as a team.
Let's make the movie Search for Kryptonite.
I don't know, man. You could make a sequel to this. That's Lex Luthor's Kryptonite chunk goes missing, and Batman and Superman are scouring the world finding pieces of it. I feel like that's possible.
So we have seen a picture of Eisenberg with a bald head, but he's got the hair here. Now, are we doing the thing that we did in the 78 Superman movie where he wears a wig, or is he going to shave it at some point?
I hope it's the wig. The wig is not only funny, and I love the 78 Superman movie, I think that movie's fantastic, but also because he says the red capes are coming, and it'd be interesting that if he's got a very public image that comes from a wig, like, so even he's wearing a costume before superheroes are.
Yeah.
I think that'd be interesting to do. I think it'd be a real natural thing to do here, but it might even be possible that it's like a Smallville thing of an accident happens to Batman and Superman and he just loses his hair.
Oh, yeah. Yep, and then it would have been really funny if somehow his inability to grow hair was the result of the collateral damage that Superman caused in Metropolis. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, all the stuff we saw in this is flashback to Lex Luthor knowing Superman's going to happen.
I just think that it is potentially hilarious, but also might be just, you know, wonderful drama if and this will end up being in a way like the quintessential example of a writer, director, some kind of creator listening to the audience, where the collateral damage that I couldn't decide if the movie even was really aware of is the catalyst for everything moving forward. Is it possible, Steve, that folks that didn't like Man of Steel at all might look back on it after this movie and say, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was? Because, I mean, as a standalone movie, it's still going to have some of those issues, maybe. You don't want it to look too afterthought-y. You know what I mean? You don't want that to look too much like... Because, obviously, it is a thing that they obviously thought of after the fact, but you don't want it to be perceived that way. And yet, you and I have talked a lot about how a lot of the Marvel movies have made earlier movies cooler and given new layers to them and stuff. But a lot of time that's because it feels like they're moving forward with that stuff, and we didn't know where they were going, and now we do. This is going to be a thing where they didn't know where they were going either, but maybe they just had a good enough idea that it doesn't matter, and they can make it work. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's going to be interesting. I think a lot of the problems Man of Steel, even before the collateral damage, there's a lot of stuff in the movie that goes wrong anyway.
Yeah.
So it won't fix the movie. It won't make it a better movie. I think people will appreciate it more, though. It'll be like how I like to describe Iron Man 2, where Iron Man 2 is not a good movie. Even after everything we've gotten afterwards, Iron Man 2 is still a really bad movie. But the character arc Tony Stark goes on in Iron Man 3 fixes where he was in Iron Man 2. So the arc that Clark goes on in Man of Steel has every possibility of being fixed in Batman versus Superman, and so it'll at least make Man of Steel feel necessary, and people will give it more value, even if it's still not a better movie for this.
Yeah, great point. Well, Steve, anything else you wanted to mention that we haven't talked about? Such a dense trailer, so much stuff.
We haven't talked about Wonder Woman at all. She's in this.
Yeah, that's about all I have to say is there she is. It looked cool. Oh man, Jason just lost his mind. Wonder Woman is one of Jason's absolute favorite characters. He just loves Wonder Woman, and he didn't know she was going to be in this. And I like to show Jason trailers without telling him what trailer we're watching. So I brought him downstairs. Jason, you got to see this. And Jason's my 5-year-old, for those of you that don't know. And I turn it on, and immediately he goes, "Dad, is this the Batman Superman trailer?" Like, yes, Jason. He goes, "Good, because that's Superman." And then Wonder Woman pops up, and he's like, "What?" And so yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I don't even know what the context of that is. Like what fight is she in the middle of? I mean, like, we don't really know. What's interesting is this movie is being sold on Batman and Superman are going to fight, and obviously at some point they're going to decide that they're not enemies. And Lex Luthor is in it, but is Lex Luthor going to create a thing that is a big giant force they both have to fight that requires help from Wonder Woman? And possibly other Justice League characters that will be in this movie, because I think Cyborg is still supposed to be there, and
Cyborg and Aquaman are still going to be in
there. There was one glimpse of water, which I assume is because Aquaman is in the movie. I couldn't tell what that was or what we were supposed to be looking at. I just saw, oh, it's water. It must be Aquaman.
Yeah. We've confirmed now. Ben Affleck has said that Wonder Woman and Batman know each other's secret identities, and they know each other before this movie.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
They've already got a bit of a relationship going. Now, what that means, now that I'm still not sure.
See, that covers a multitude of potential problems, right?
Yeah.
We're like, we're not going to have to spend a bunch of time with all these people meeting each other with this, like, really obvious, contrived, obligatory, well, we just made up a thing that was a reason to get all these people together. Yay! That's exciting.
It's a good idea. And maybe having Batman already know about the existence of some superheroes and the way Superman goes about it is what he disagrees with could even be more interesting.
Yeah.
This Batman's already got kind of control of this little world, and Superman is breaking that balance. And there's even some like still images that were released a few weeks ago, or maybe just last week, where you've got Batman and Wonder Woman like dancing together, and it almost makes you think that maybe they're already in like an actual relationship. And that'd be awesome. That's something I really like from the Justice League animated universe.
I would like that too, yeah. Well, and that's neat because it means that they don't feel like they have to do whatever the comics are doing right now. They're not worried about that kind of consistency or synergy or whatever. They're just going their own way a little bit, because I was afraid that a lot of this was going to be a little too 52. And of course we've already gotten away from even calling the current DC Comics 52, so that's good. Like Wonder Woman and Superman don't have to date. You could do something else.
And it seems like Lois is playing a bigger role in Superman's life than Wonder Woman would even be, because she's the one that's pushing him to be a symbol for hope again in this.
And of course,
so it'd be great if we reestablish that a little bit.
And of course, knows that he's Superman before she has even heard of Clark Kent.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't even detect like even a hint of New 52 in this trailer. And that's exciting, because it was made when that was still high. It was made when all that stuff was still being forced into everything else, and there's not even a second of that's a New 52 thing in this trailer. At least not that I found watching it a few times.
Not really, no. It reminded me a lot more of just the comics that I loved growing up. It seems like it's influenced mostly by the major Token 80 stuff. As far as the look of the universe, I'm gonna say like mid to late 2000s.
Yeah, it's very much like a post-Brad Meltzer DC universe.
Yeah,
because he's the guy that they invited to kind of darken things up. So I can see that. The stories are still taking influence, and there's even some shots that are pretty directly Miller.
Yeah, and then a lot of images and stuff that just really remind me of a lot of 90s stuff. And I'm not saying, of course, that it's got to be the comics I love. or that it's got to be throwback and it's got to capitalize on nostalgia. I think that it's doing a lot of things at once. You know what I mean? Like I think that for those of us that love certain things, we're going to be excited about it from a nostalgic place. But I think it's also trying to introduce people to stuff that they wouldn't be familiar with if they didn't read comics. Lex Luthor holding a big chunk of Kryptonite. He's kind of exciting. Classic Lex Luthor. And people say, well, you've seen that a million times already in Superman films. Yeah, but we got a more comic book version, so it's exciting.
I agree.
I fully expect him to make a ring out of it.
I hope that happens.
Me too.
I want them to recreate that Michael Rosenbaum scene from Smallville. That'd be great.
Yeah, except do not end that scene with "I'm the villain of the story." Don't do that. Just
unless your
word
choice is as amazing as "I am the ill intent." If you can pull that kind of writing off, then go ahead.
Yes, that's okay. But it's like, well, no. We already knew that you were the villain of the story. Do you still have it? Or I don't remember if you did. Do you have reservations about Eisenberg? Because I still hear so many people like I was looking at Facebook earlier. A lot of people were like, yeah, trailer looks epic, looks really fun. Still don't like Eisenberg in that role. What do you think?
I've always liked the idea of that in this day and age, a person in Lex Luthor's position would be like a younger upstart, very Mike Zuckerbergish, and so you get the guy that played Mike Zuckerberg in The Social Network. That makes sense to me.
I love that.
I just don't like Eisenberg as an actor, and we still don't know whether this is like mad scientist Lex or corporate baron Lex, or maybe a mix of the two.
It looks like it's gotta be corporate primary, and maybe he's good at sciencey stuff, but he and haven't they talked about that? Hasn't Snyder kind of already revealed that he's supposed to be a corporate version? And then
well, I mean, he owns a company, but I mean, like Grant Morrison did the thing where Lex is still a mad scientist. It's just he managed to make a company out of it. So I don't know. We don't know a lot about what Snyder's vision for Lex Luthor is going to be in this universe yet. I still don't like Eisenberg as an actor, but I'm willing to trust it a lot more than I was before this trailer.
Somebody on Facebook sent me a message, and I promised him that if I mentioned this, I would mention his name and give him credit for it. This is Hector Rivera on Facebook. I don't know what his YouTube channel name is, so that's his real name. And he says, "You're about my age, Cap. Do you remember the days when Wizard Magazine would write articles with their dream cast for superhero movies, and we would fantasize about what it would be like if those movies actually got made? Now we're living that dream." Yeah. That's exactly where we are now. It's cool, and we get passionate about this stuff, and we care about it, and we speculate, and we criticize, and we sometimes fans will have a tendency to go a little bit too far with all that stuff, but it's hard not to, because we're inundated with it now, and sometimes I think it's really important, of course, to stand back and go, isn't it cool that we live in a world where we've got all this stuff now? Isn't it crazy that superheroes are saving Hollywood? Yeah, totally. Because you would have predicted that like 10, 20 years ago, that the comic book source material, just putting that straight on screen, is the easiest cash cow you could have. And you wouldn't expect that the best movies of the year are coming from comic books. The most adept social commentary, the best, most creative stuff, the best action movies, the best political movies, they're all comic book movies. Yeah. And as long as that's the case, or at least I think at least for a while, that's going to be a wave that studios can keep writing, and that they have to just keep reinvigorating it with good ideas, good characterization, and good stories. We can't get formulaic and keep telling the same things over and over again. And this looks like a thing I haven't seen yet. Yeah. And I mean, it's good that it's not all 52, that they're actually mining a bunch of source material, because comic books have been around for more than 75 years. There's a reason for that. So if you just keep going with that formula of doing something different, getting what works and what doesn't, having a little bit of perspective on what works for the time and what wouldn't work right now, and being passionate about what you're adapting, you can make the superhero train ride forever. I mean, movies I think are a little bit more finicky as far as like trends and what people are into and stuff than comics have been. You might be right. Yeah, I mean, that's just an optimistic way of looking at it. Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely.
they're doing a lot of interesting stuff because we're going to get Superman versus Batman, or Batman versus Superman. I want to say Superman first now because it's so much about him.
I know.
We're getting Batman versus Superman the same year we're getting Iron Man versus Captain America in Civil War. Both of them have their entire teams already assembled in that movie. And it's going to be a rivalry that a lot of people like to see them confront on a physical level, but in the long run want to see them together as a team. So they're doing two very different stories with almost the exact same premise. And people are equally excited about both.
Boy, that's such a great point you're making, Steve. And it's going to be impossible for guys like me and you not to compare them and not to want to kind of thematically analyze the two, each set of opposing viewpoints and that kind of thing. It's neat that they're both coming out the same year because they have so much in common. You know, everybody compared Dark Knight Rises and Avengers when those came out, and they were just two totally different movies. That the only thing they really had in common was that both of them were big, giant superhero movies that people had been waiting for. One was the end of a thing, one was the beginning of a thing, and people felt like they had to. Some people felt like they had to take sides, and then it was like, if you like the DC thing, you can't like the Marvel thing. I'm really hoping that doesn't happen this year. I feel, or next year with these. I feel like these are two movies that, in some ways, should be compared, and I don't mean in taking sides. I don't mean in saying this is better than this, and if you like Civil War, you can't like Batman v Superman and that kind of thing. But that there are two movies that will have enough in common that it'll be really fun to contrast them.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been reading so many Iron Man comics lately. I used to say that, or Dan and I used to say that Marvel's version of Batman was always Daredevil. I think it's Iron Man now. I think reading all the classic comics, Marvel's Batman is Iron Man. And Marvel Cinematic Universe Superman is Captain America. You're getting Batman vs. Superman and Batman vs. Superman 2 times, basically.
Well, it's all about control. As I said before, and Captain America and Superman are both the guys that put freedom above that protection.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's so natural. It's all very different and unique, but it's still at the core the same thing. The fact that we can do the same story of 2 superheroes don't agree and they fight, and you can do it 2 different ways with 4 characters that are completely different and yet the same is a really good sign. And
if the movies are both great, what they'll do, I mean, this could be 2008 all over again, where we once again reinvigorate the superhero movie thing and blow everyone's minds with, and you can take it further, and you can, like, what I'm hoping is that if they're both great, that what they'll do is demonstrate to people why both of these very different things are equally valid, and why here's this Marvel way of doing of telling a story, here's this DC way of telling a story, and also it gives us something for everybody, because if you don't care for one, now you have the other, assuming that this movie is great, and so I mean that's really exciting too. Do you think that critics are likely? I guess we have to see the movies before we can really answer this. But do you think that just in premise alone, critics are likely to kind of resist just how big the superhero thing is getting, where now we end up with 2 movies that have basically the same premise in the same year? In fact, they don't have the same premise, but where it's just, okay, now the new thing is just making movies about a couple of superheroes fighting each other. Okay, like, do you think that a lot of critics will take that down to those kind of brass tacks?
I think some of them will, because I mean, we can give it the benefit of the doubt. We can look deeper and not make that fallacy, because we're seeing it out of our own free will. We want to watch these movies.
Yeah.
Critics are being forced to watch everything because they have to make a review of everything.
That's a great point.
Even if they're not a superhero person, because there's a lot of critics that are really great that don't like superheroes. It's just not their cup of tea. They don't say they're bad. They just don't care for them, and they have to watch everything every year. So if you come from that perspective of you just don't like superheroes, it's going to be hard for you to differentiate the two, because you're not the audience for that, but you have to watch it anyway.
That makes it so much harder. This is interesting, and at some point I'm going to do a recommends on this. I'm reading a book right now by C.S. Lewis that's a series of essays about criticism. And he talks about how critics have a tendency to he wrote this, I think, in like 1961, and he talks about how when you're doing criticism, it's very easy to look at all the things that you're looking at as just raw material, and that you have to talk about, and not take things on their own terms and allow the thing to do to you what it might do to you if you were otherwise just going in, as you said, just going into it of your own free will. And I just bring that up because I think that it is so easy to fall into that trap of, okay, it's this thing, I have to go see it because that's what I do, and you know, not allow yourself to have that experience, and you know, you bring too much of your, you know, preconceptions and stuff to the table.
Yeah, and I guess some of them might even turn around, because I mean, not all critics are that way, and a lot of them have the same energy for every movie they review. Roger Ebert was like that all the way through his career, where even if he didn't particularly care for a thing, even when it wasn't his cup of tea, he still gave it a good review, even if it wasn't generally his style.
For the most part, yeah. You could see fatigue every now and again, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, nobody's perfect, but like he had that mentality at least. I mean, there's a lot of critics like that we don't necessarily agree with, but just want everything to be taken on its own terms. And with these two movies in particular, they're coming out so close to each other. One's March, one's May. They're basically the same kind of idea of two superheroes fighting each other. That's what they're going to be sold on, no matter what, right? They're going to be sold on Captain America versus Iron Man, Batman versus Superman. That's
well, and they both have big rights issues too, right? Because I mean, like, so I mean, obviously the Marvel side of this is whether or not the government should allow people to go out and fight crime, assuming that they're doing it, you know, more or less like the comics did. And this is whether or not somebody like Superman should be allowed to be himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So and part of it's also, we've seen superheroes fight on screen before. The Marvel formula is every time two superheroes team up, they have to fight first.
Yeah.
And there are people that are going to break it down to that level, because you said in your Avengers review, one of the worst parts of that movie is when Iron Man and Thor are fighting, because it comes out of nowhere. It just had to be there.
Yeah.
And stuff like that might feed into some critics a little bit, just because it is a formula. There is a way to do these movies, and people have done it before. But I think it's all about the energy of the people making it. Chris Terrio and Zack Snyder and Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, they want to make this movie. The Russo brothers, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., they want to make that movie.
Yeah.
And if their energy shines through enough, it might wipe away that fatigue, and it might make the critics less inclined to view, like as you said, as raw material, and more of just I had a personal experience watching the movie.
Well, that's we've been at this for a while now. So do you have anything else you want to bring up that needs to be discussed?
I apologize for being so down on this before. I am on board with this now. I'm excited.
That's super cool that they were able to put out a thing that changed your mind about it as much as it did. And I must admit that I'm more excited about it than I was before. Cautiously optimistic before. Now, I don't know. I mean, maybe a little less cautious even. There's I don't know. There's some stuff in this where I'm just like, oh, I didn't think you were gonna go that comic book. Oh, okay. Every reason to think that this is gonna be a blast, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. There's still stuff in it that I don't think makes sense, but I'm okay with it just because the trailer is so much fun to watch. It's an enjoyable ride. If nothing else, it'll be a spectacle.
Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the trailer, and what if you have any cool predictions about what this movie has in store for us, and what we might see beyond that from the folks at Warner's making more superhero movies in the shared universe. I hope it makes $1 billion, Steve. Because I don't want it to do just shy of what Warner's is expecting, and then they scrap everything else. I don't think at this point there's any chance of that happening. But
there's no way.
I do sometimes feel the need to make fun of Warner Brothers, because that could. This is clearly not the mentality of the people making this, but that studio tends.
They cast the Justice League movie and then scrapped it. That's all we're saying.
That's all we're saying. But you know what? I don't even know who's heading them anymore. So they might have had some leadership changes and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that has been a thing lately, where like people will make fun of or complain about a company because of the way they've done business for a long time, and then all of a sudden they get like a great CEO that realizes what all those problems are, and they just like that happened recently with Xbox and Windows and stuff like that.
And stuff with Fox as well, like the people running it when Firefly was canceled, not the people running it now.
Yeah, exactly. They might actually air a show in order. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. We appreciate it. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Steve Baxi.
See you later.